A proud supporter of this program, Riverbend Food Bank's vision is a hunger-free Iowa and Illinois.
Whelan Presley Funeral Home and Crematory has been serving Quad City families since 1889. Whelan Presley Funeral Homes are located in Rock Island, Milan, and Reynolds and are proud supporters of WQPT.
A new year and a new session of the Illinois legislature. Besides legalized marijuana, how is life changing this year for Illinois residents in the cities? Illinois lawmakers return to Springfield later this month, but what's on the agenda for the coming year? It's not the only question, because we're now facing the changes lawmakers approved last year that are taking effect right now. And joining us are the two state representatives serving the cities, Republican Tony McCombie of Savannah, Democrat Mike Halpin of Rock Island. Thank you both for joining us.
Happy New Year.
Let me start with you, Mike. I mean, what is it that you think that was accomplished in 2019 taking effect now that's the most important?
I think it's continuing our track record of passing budgets, and in addition to that, the capital plan that's going to put us a little bit forward as far as infrastructure repair, especially road projects in this area that we're going to see. I think it's continuing that 3-year now tradition of some fiscal stability and looking forward to the building on that in the future.
Do you agree with that? Is that the biggest accomplishment of the last year?
I would say. When we came in, it was such a nightmare with the budget, and that's what we're there for. So definitely, we have to pass a budget. This one was a little more inflated than I would have liked, but at least we have one.
You didn't like the infrastructure bill, the Rebuild Illinois. I believe you voted against it, as a matter of fact, because you didn't think it helped your constituents enough in the far reaches of Northwest Illinois. Have you changed your mind about that because of some projects that are being proposed?
Well, actually, we're getting quite a few projects now, and I don't know if that's because we had a lot of conversations with IDOT and constituents were on the phone. I hope that's the reason, but we certainly do have a lot. Infrastructure was never the question. We needed a plan. It's just how we got there was how I disagreed with it. I don't think passing a 19-cent gas tax right away, increasing cigarette taxes, increasing taxes across the board is the right way to go, especially all at once. I think you can do it in incremental steps. And I think there was a way you could have done it to have more people support it.
Because this multi-billion-dollar plan, you're exactly right. This is where the money is coming from, including ask any auto dealer in Illinois or in Iowa right now about the extra taxation as far as trade-ins are concerned. I mean, are you hearing that from constituents that are worried that now that we've started the new year, they're going to be taxed more than they have been in a while?
Oh, absolutely. And if you just look at, which is all public in the information, if you look at on the gas tax, they're keeping it separate, so what was before and what's new dollars, and you can see that people are not shopping, at least in our area, in our district. They're shopping across the river more so. Now the money might be higher, but that's just because of the new dollars coming in. So you can really see that difference. And then also even cigarette sales. It's illegal to smuggle, but I mean, when you're going over and buying a few cartons of cigarettes, even though you shouldn't be doing that, I mean, people are doing it. So I just don't think because the tax is higher, the revenue might either stay stable or come higher, but it just gets people out of our shopping here in Illinois, and then eventually businesses go down, and then property taxes have issues, and it just goes on and on.
Well, Representative Halpin, I mean, you represent Rock Island County. The county itself has been looking at raising taxes as well. That you add the state increase to the county increase, you must be hearing an earful right now.
It's actually been very quiet for the past couple of months. There was, when the bill initially passed, there was concern about the gas tax. But as you look here today, our prices are at, or if lower than they were in the summertime when we passed the initial increase. And I think if you do look at the numbers, you will see that we are getting larger revenue from the gas tax, even if people are going over to Iowa to pay for Iowa roads instead of paying for Illinois roads. It really has quieted down because people are starting to see the results of what the capital bill is going to do. The multi-year plan comes out, shows improvements for 280, 80, John Deere Road, Andalusia Road, all these projects, and including some in Representative McCombie's districts, all these projects are long needed. And my experience with the callers and emails I get is that as long as I know where my money's going and we're seeing a tangible benefit, then I'm willing to spend that amount.
But let's be honest, when it comes to the state of Illinois, where the money is being spent, is a huge issue when it comes to the huge debt that you're facing, as well as fixing the pension problems. I mean, are those cans that are being kicked down the road right now?
I don't think so. You know, every year we've been down there, we've been making the pension payments that are required, which is, you know, certainly a commitment that I was trying to make when I first ran for office. We still have issues down the road as the ramp increases and our payments become larger and larger. But the reality is we've taken our duties seriously over these past 3 years to try to address the problem. The governor will be signing a bill today that doesn't address the state pension systems, but it does address municipal pension systems, which will save them money over the course of the next, decades really. And that's going to release a little pressure on our local communities so they don't have to rely as much on property tax.
And I apologize, but that really is the huge dark cloud that's hanging over both municipal and state government. And it's not a sexy issue. Taking care of it doesn't necessarily win a lot of applause or give you a parade.
Absolutely. But if we can, you know how I feel. I believe in less government and more local control. And I think as long as it was an agreed upon bill on the downstate police and fire, and they still have control, and we're able to save millions of dollars on administrative costs and have a higher rate of return, I think that's a win for everybody.
Well, I know that every time I've talked to you guys, since even before you were elected, I would always ask about marijuana and legalization, and surprisingly,
Yes,
it is actually happening right now. Do you have major concerns, or is there a way that you're really hoping to see what happens after the first of the year?
Well, it's here. It's going to be coming probably on a federal side. I was a no. I think the bill was horrible. I think there's pieces of it as it starts rolling in is going to cause some serious issues with our local folks. So the expungement piece is a huge burden on our counties and our local departments that I just don't even know how they're going to begin with that.
When you're talking about the expungement issue, you're talking about the people that have been convicted to clear their records,
That's right.
And that has to be done on a local level.
That's
through
right.
the circuit court system is where it started.
And it's an automatic, and I'm not a big fan of automatic expungement. If you want to go to the judge and fill out the paperwork or whatever it is and stand before a judge and ask, for your records to be expunged, I'm all for that. But to automatically expunge, I'm not a big fan. I don't think we should be legislating away judicial power. I am also extremely concerned with how high Illinois is going to be putting the tax. Depending on the level, it could be up to 30%. And I think that is going to grow an illicit market that we are not prepared for. And I also don't think that we have the inventory that it's going to need.
The supply and demand, so to speak.
That's right.
Do you see the same problems? Let's be honest, you don't know until you do it, I guess, in so many different ways.
I think there will be some supply problems at the beginning. And part of the reason for that is we try to take a slow and deliberate approach to rolling it out so that we can catch problems as they arise. It's not as if we're allowing thousands of licenses across the state of Illinois. In the first year, there's only going to be about 55 to 75 licenses and dispensaries that are going to be out there. And so yes, that might create a supply problem, but what it does is it allows us to catch issues as they come up. On the tax side, I think we try to take a reasonable approach that other successful states have taken. And again, the system allows for us to adjust that. If we see that over the next 5 to 10 years, a black market still exists, we can adjust for that and make those changes to bring it into control. The sponsor of the bill indicated that the state of Colorado, that has had legalization for several years, has an in-state black market that's nearly non-existent. Now they do have problems with black market, exports to other states where it's still illegal.
Right.
But the in-state market, they've done a good job of controlling that and allowing for legitimate businesses to control the market.
Are you worried about treatment issues as well as use among underage people?
Of course, worried about both of those, but I think that's a problem that we can deal with. Funds that are raised through the taxation and excise taxes are going to go to substance abuse treatment. They're going to go to our local governments for enforcement for minors that are not legally using this substance. So I think those are again they're worries that you have, but they're problems that can be addressed, and they're not insurmountable.
It just seems odd that we're legalizing marijuana at a time we're also talking about increased regulations on vaping. Illinois is supposedly maybe taking major moves towards vaping, as well as for vaping for children in the coming legislative session of 2020. At the same time, legalizing recreational marijuana. How does one justify those two things?
Well, don't put weed in your vape.
Yeah,
But
well,
so
that appears to be one of the biggest problems.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Well, and I don't think there again we can legislate telling people it's proven. I mean, we can't tell people how to live their lives, and if you take something off a market, they're going to find a way to get it. So it's just one more thing for me, just like smoking 21. I mean, now that's possibly going to be a federal,
Right.
coming across there too, but. We have to. I just feel we have just got to get out of people's houses and out of their businesses, and the more restrictions we put on them, it's just where are we going to be in the next 10 years?
But you're not saying nothing should be done about vaping.
No,
right?
no, I definitely think so. But then when you talk about not having flavors, I don't vape, I don't smoke, and is it marketing to children? Well, not intentionally, but neither is alcohol and neither is weed going to. But it's still out there, and kids are kids. I mean, and people have access, and all of this is very accessible. So it's just how are we parenting our kids and our neighbors' kids and telling them what's right and wrong?
How do you see the vaping issue as far as a health crisis, which some are calling it, in the state of Illinois?
I think we're both in agreement here. I don't think it's necessary to ban it altogether or to ban flavoring altogether. I think if there are issues with specific diseases that come up, we need to address that as a public health issue. But a complete and outright ban doesn't make sense, especially on a state by state level. It's an area where it is easy to head across the river to purchase that, and 18 to 21-year-olds probably do that a little bit now. And if this goes through, it's just going to further hurt Illinois businesses and individual freedom here on the Illinois side.
Talk about Illinois businesses a little bit more, because starting the first of the year, another big change, an increase in the minimum wage, $1 extra per hour. Just the start of a 5-year plan to move Illinois to $15 an hour. You supported it. Have you heard any backlash? I mean, a lot of businesses are worried that after the first of the year, they're going to be put at a great disadvantage.
Yeah, I think we're in a bi-state community, and I think when you raise wages for one side of the river, you're going to get more talented applicants. And people in Iowa aren't going to be able to pay $7.25 anymore if that's what they were paying, because they're going to get people that go to Illinois businesses for those jobs. I talk to small business owners. They say, I've always treated my employees like a family, and I need to take care of them like a family, and that means they've got to earn a living wage. They've got to be able to support themselves if they're going to work for me full time. I think that's what we're going to see. We're also going to see when everyone's getting a raise on the lowest end, they're going to spend that money in the community. So if you're at a fast food restaurant, you're paying your workers a little bit more, but everybody that was earning a low wage in that community is going to have more to spend on a hamburger. They're going to have more to spend taking their families out to dinner. They're going to spend more on retail. So it's going to have effects on the community by putting that money back into our own businesses.
But I know that you're a critic because you say, where did that money come from? And that is higher prices for the commodities and services that are being sold.
That's right. It's a novel idea, and it's not that anybody disagreed with the fact that we needed to raise the wage. Who decided $15 an hour was the living wage? It's going to be the cure-all, as I don't know. But
you saw
economics.
Go. I'm sorry.
I mean, there's a certain cost of living here in the Quad Cities, and people think that $15 is good for Chicago, but not downstate. But if you look at the numbers, it costs almost $12 and I think 50 cents an hour right now to even pay for the things that you need: food, shelter, clothing, in a respectable way. And by the time we actually get to $15 an hour, that number locally is going to be going up.
But I mean, because you basically mentioned it, that there was a certain level of inevitability. And if the rate isn't increased gradually or on a consistent basis, then it starts, all of a sudden you do it 5 years later, it's a bigger increase. It's almost like the gas tax as well, as if you don't raise it after a while, oh my gosh, now we're going to raise it. But is that the way you want to see either taxation or mandated payments for employees to be handled by the state?
Well, and I think the other thing we're not talking about is the compression piece of it. You know, we were just at a meeting talking to one of our local hospitals and how it's going to affect the people that are already making $15 an hour. So it's not just this amount, it's what the amount's going to be for the future. And I think there's no way $15 an hour is going to be backed out now. I hope that we see that it is causing some hardships. Or that they recognize that the hardships are being caused and that we extend it out further than 2025 is my hope. Because I think it is going to be extremely hard for our hospitals, our nursing homes, our non-for-profits, let alone our small business people that are now able to take some time to spend with their family and have somebody in their shop. That's going to stop. I mean, that's what I'm hearing when I go to small businesses that have, you know, a mom and pop shop that have 1 or 2 part-time folks. They're like, well, they're going to go away. If I want to stay open, I'm going to have to work the hours. Because it's kind of hard for them to pay it now, especially in our small rural towns. It's not like the Quad Cities where we have all of this access and competition. We don't have that in a lot of my small communities.
Let me talk a little bit more about some of the other workplace changes that are going on. I thought it was interesting. You can no longer, employers in Illinois, really talk about arrest records for people who are applying for a job. That has changed. Schools are going to be teaching workplace harassment, sexual harassment, on how to deal with it and how to report it and what is right and what is wrong. And then also the workplace protections, the Victims Economic Security and Safety Act also going into effect as of January 1st. The legislature really did take a look at a lot of workplace environment issues. Is that another part of, as you say, I don't want you in my house, I don't want you in my workplace either when we're talking about government?
I also don't want you disrespecting me and treating me badly.
Right.
There was a big group of folks that got together and really looked at the House and the Senate and looked at bills and packages, and a lot of that came out of that. It's hard not to support any of those measures because we want people to behave. But there again, how do we legislate it? I mean, this is great policy, and it's great for people to have mechanisms in place to say, okay, we have to do this, and maybe they didn't do it before. But there again, I mean, people just have got to quit being bad and start treating each other with respect. I don't know when that all happened, but to have somebody, you know, sexually harass me in my workplace, I mean, I can't imagine it. I can't imagine it. I hope these policies help. I think it will help larger places, businesses, because they may not have put the policies in place, and now they have to.
I got to admit, don't most of the larger companies already have such policies in place? I mean, maybe we're talking about a restaurant or a clothing store that might have 2 or 3 employees and a really bad manager or owner. I mean, isn't most of this already in place for a larger company?
A lot of the policies are in place. The difficulty is making sure that they police and enforce the policies, and that that can sometimes be problematic.
But then I add to that is that aren't we opening up a Pandora's box of litigation? As a lawyer, I'm not sure if you're all that against that, but I mean, are we not creating like a system of? And I agree with Representative McCombie is that you want to eradicate this from the workplace, but on the other hand, are we going to be really litigating so many more issues that are workplace related?
Yeah, the possibility of increased litigation, I mean, it happens when employers aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing. And as Tony said, if these companies take it seriously and say, don't do that, this is our policy, stick to it or you'll be fired, that's going to cut down on litigation. Just because you have a policy in place doesn't mean you're also enforcing it. And that's really where it comes into play. A lot of these companies have done good things on policy, and they've trained their HR professionals to recognize when this is going on. They just got to, that has to flow down to the managerial level and the middle managers as well.
I'm going to talk about the coming year and the issue, or at least the bill, or whatever you want to introduce in 2020 that either didn't get action on in the last session or is very important to you in this coming session. What do you look forward to accomplishing? What's the highest on your agenda?
Third time is a charm. We're going to get Pam Knight's bill passed, I believe, this year. we got it passed in the House last year, and I think we found some language to help get it passed this year.
Pam Knight is the DCFS worker who was killed while doing her job protecting children. What does your bill, what does your plan do, and why is it even needed? I mean, protections are already there, you would think.
Well, and it's not necessarily, we talk about protection, but it's really for, it is an increased penalty to a degree, but to me, it's more of a closure of a loophole, putting DCFS workers and also Department of Aging was missed in that. Putting them on the same level as teachers, police, and fire. If something like this happens, that the penalty is the same at a minimum. So that's really what that would do. This new piece of it will protect foster children who are in the foster system, who may have some issues, mental issues, or have done this to somebody. It's going to protect them and keep them still in the foster side of it. So it's just a little tweak. I like the bill how it is, but if we're willing to able to get it passed by compromising, I'm more than happy to do that. Also have a couple bills that are going to be new to help promote youth hunting and fishing that I really think are no-brainers, that are getting kids away from the screen and getting them out and about, and I think we can do that. We're working with Director Costello and Conservation and our conservation officers to develop that language now.
What's on the top of your agenda for 2020 right now?
A couple of local issues. Again, constituents come to me with ideas, and we're kind of working through some of those to see what might be feasible. But I'd like to extend and increase the limit for the historic preservation tax credit. Right now it's 15 million statewide, when Iowa, I think, has 3 times that much for a much smaller state. And I think that's going to be beneficial for our area. And I'd also like to reintroduce a bill on workers' comp insurance that will hopefully let some of our employers actually see some savings.
2020, of course, is also an election year, and I know that there are 2 issues. One that you have brought up, I know, and I know it's a concern of yours as well, and that is lobbying reform as well as ethics reform in the state of Illinois. We keep hearing things of what's happening outside the speaker's office or people who are in various departments. Tell me what you want to see done as far as ethics reform in Illinois, and is it sooner the better?
I want to see disclosures that show where we're getting our money. I'm an attorney. Representative McCombie does appraisals and things like that. We should be able to earn a living outside of what is essentially quasi part-time job. But at the same time, if you're getting influenced by industries in the state, the people should be able to know that. So I think the sooner the better. I was surprised there was a representative in Chicago that was acting as a lobbyist for city government, and frankly, it's not something that even crossed my mind, because that is inherently to me a problem. And so things like that, we just need to review what people are taking for granted and make sure that we have politicians that are accountable to the people.
And you seem to have thought that this was one of the big falling issues for the last session, that nothing was accomplished in 2019.
Yeah, absolutely. Even as we were in the Blue Room where we give our press conferences, that representative was indicted while we're sitting there not realizing it. We walked out. It's so blatant over the years, and that's when people are like, oh, term limits. Well, I understand that. I definitely think the term limits on the leadership, but the longer they're in there, they just take their position and their power, and they just go further, and further. I was like Representative Halpin. I had no idea that it would be legal and not unethical to lobby. I mean, we could lobby for East Moline or Moline, that's crazy to me, and then write a bill and then apply pressure to our colleagues to sign it, benefiting our district and not others. I mean, it is really kind of crazy, the things that are happening in Illinois. Some people are not surprised, but I think the commission that was drafted and that was passed, unfortunately, I think is too partisan to make positive change, and I think having it due at the end of March is also detrimental, because we can pass some things right now that would help with the economic statements, with the disclosure, with conflicts of interest, that you would have 118 people on it.
Real quickly, 2020, of course, an election year. It's also a year of the census. Is much going to be accomplished in the legislature, do you believe, in this coming session?
Not till after primaries in March. Yeah.
Is that? Let's be honest. I mean, you're in session until the end of May, so that's a big chunk of time.
Yeah, although, generally the committee process is January, February anyway. This year, I think most of what we accomplished was April and May anyway. That's when we're down there the longest, when the bills are getting through each of the chambers. I think we'll pass another budget. We're going to move, I think, on some lobbying reform efforts, or ethics reform efforts. I think we'll hopefully see some property tax relief recommendations that we can act on. So I think it will be a productive session. I'm fairly optimistic about that.
Representative Mike Halpin, Representative Tony McCombie, thank you so much for joining us. Good luck in the coming session, and hope you have a great new year.
Thank you.
Thank you, you too.
Appreciate you being here. And we hope you are enjoying your holidays as we kick off the new year. And Laura Adams has a list of great events that will help you enjoy the start of 2020. So here's Laura, out and about.
This is Out and About for December 30th through January 5th, the New Year's Eve edition. Ringing in the new year will be the Wedding Max Bridal Show at the TaxSlayer Center January 4th. Meet with the top bridal consultants in the area to make your wedding day perfect. For families, there's New Year's Eve at the Sawmill Museum in Clinton, Iowa, starting at 10:30 a.m. New Year's Eve party at the Hy-Vee in Milan for kids 3 to 10 years old, starting at 11. And New Year's Eve at the Family Museum starting at 9, where I try to stay awake until midnight when you can party all day. For adults, there's Champagne and Roses at the Quad City Botanical Center. RSVP required, attendance is limited. New Year's 2020 at Renwick Mansion has a Moulin Rouge theme with Magic by David Cassis. All Sweat Productions presents Clapton at River Music Experience starting at 9. Circa 21 hosts Good Rockin' Live, a salute to Sun Records. Reservations are required for dinner and show. The Hauberg Estate presents a Roaring 20s New Year's Eve with music by Louis Knudsen and Chuck Bald on violin. Plus, there's Bella Diva, a New Year's Eve party at Rhythm City Casino Resort featuring a 10-piece show band. After all the parties, relax at a concert by Chamber Music Quad Cities at the Unitarian Church in Davenport on January 4th, celebrating Beethoven's 250th year. For more information, visit wqpt.org.
Thank you, Laura, and we want to welcome you to a big party we're throwing in our own honor. Tickets are now on sale for WQPT Champagne on the Rocks event. It's coming up Friday, January 24th at the Rhythm City Casino and Resort. It's a night for you to bid on great prizes and perhaps win some jewelry. Get details about Champagne on the Rocks at our website, wqpt.org. On the air, on the radio, on the web, and on your mobile device. Thanks for taking some time to join us as we talk about the issues on the cities.
A proud supporter of this program, Riverbend Food Bank's vision is a hunger-free Iowa and Illinois.
Whelan Presley Funeral Home and Crematory has been serving Quad City families since 1889. Whelan Presley Funeral Homes are located in Rock Island, Milan, and Reynolds and are proud supporters of WQPT.